This is the Note Closers Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Howdy. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. We are jacked up this, actually, it's not Monday, it's Tuesday here in the office. So things are rocking and rolling here. Our special guest today is a longtime buddy of mine who does an amazing job with his own note business and has a little bit different background than most people and way of getting into notes. And he's going to share some of his stories today on some of the I guess you could say the good, the bad, the ugly of note investing, right, Randy?
That's right. That's right.
So we have our good friend Randy Rodenhouse joining us this morning from South Carolina. Good morning, Randy.
Morning. How you guys doing?
We're doing well, man. How's
Awesome.
You're good down there living life and avoiding the hurricane parties, I take it.
Yeah, I just had a lot of water and flooding and all that good stuff, but got lucky, so we're survivors down here.
And so let's for those that don't know who you are and your kind of background, why don't you share kind of your little bio, where you came from, why you got into notes, and from there.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Randy Rodenhouse. Our company's name is the Note Authority. How I got into this was, actually back in 2008, I quit my job. I was working full-time for a corporate world. I was in a pharmaceutical chemical company. And
Were you a drug dealer?
Yeah, there you go. I was making drugs. And after 18 years of making drugs, so to speak, I quit that and started doing real estate. And at the time, I didn't have any idea about notes or what I was going to do in notes. And then probably, I think in 2011, I got introduced to notes and found out that really is the way I wanted to go. So in 2012, I jumped in full time. So it's been like about 5 years now, full time on notes, and bought a lot of notes and had a lot of fun. And I love it. I still have a lot of rental properties and I still do some of that, but truthfully, my passion's in the notes and really feel like that's the way to go. You don't have to deal with a lot of headaches, which, just like the storm came through and I got calls from, a few roofs leaking and things of that nature. So if you have a note, no worries there. You just collect the coupon, as they say, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're the bank. Nobody calls you to come unclog their toilets or fix their roofs. I mean, they let you know there's a leak there, but they ultimately are the owners of the property. You're just the bank collecting the payments. If they don't pay, they don't stay, right, brother?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's, what I'm doing now. I'm really looking a lot more towards the passive side. I still do, of course, all the notes I buy, my intention is to get them reperforming, keep that as a long-term cash flow. I pretty much keep probably 90% of what I buy unless it goes to an REO and then I sell the house. So a lot of times I sell the house and then it goes into a rental, or I sell it on contract for deed or owner financing and things of that nature, which also produces more passive income. So it's great. It's a great business.
So where are your majority of your rentals? Are they in one area? They're kind of spread out in different areas?
Well, I do have a lot of rentals where I live in South Carolina, but now I have rentals in Ohio, Indiana, and Tennessee. I'm just trying to limit it to that. I don't want to get crazy on the rentals in terms of outside my own state. But I do have a lot of contract for deeds and seller finance notes that I created from the houses that I got back as REOs, and have it in mostly Southeast and Midwest.
Okay, cool. But you've got teams there that help you manage all that. You're not the guy that's knocking on the door.
No, absolutely. You have to have teams. I think what Scott says is very true. And truthfully, I took it to heart a little late. But you can't do everything yourself. You really need to get other people to help. You can really build your business much faster that way. And there's no way you can do it all. I mean, you could go crazy if you try to do it all yourself. So really outsource as much as you can. You really have to understand it yourself first, in my opinion, to get a good handle on, what you can and can't do. And, so you can tell other people and explain to them what you want done.
Right. Because that's a lot of people I want to outsource everything at first. I'm like, well, that's great. That's a good mentality to have. But until you've actually walked a few steps in those shoes to begin with, you can't really tell people which steps to take.
Right.
Or what experience, right?
Exactly.
What would you say has been your biggest aha moment in the last 12 months, if you've got one? and then I'm going to take it back compared to when you began.
Right. I would say in the last 12 months, I started to realize that I keep everything, since I'm keeping everything, I'm building so much passive income that I can almost buy a note or two every month just from the passive income. So my passive income goals this year are, $40,000 a month. So, right now I'm a little over 30. I'm trying to push it to 40. And then obviously I'm going to keep pushing it to, hopefully 6 figures, but it takes a while. And it just doesn't happen overnight. You have to realize that it takes time to build this. So if you start buying things, keeping them, if I get money back in terms of passive income, I automatically put that money right back into buying another note. And then that builds on itself. It just keeps feeding itself. And actually, I could probably tell you a little experiment I started and nobody knows about it until I'm just kind of presenting it here. In 2013, I did a little experiment where I have 2 accounts, 150,000 in one account and like 170,000 in the other account. And I just would buy a note, and this is more reperforming, sub-performing, and performing type notes. Okay, so let's different kind of space than just non-performing, and just kept reinvesting. And now, I have over $1.2 million in that account, in those 2 accounts together, of course. So, it builds on itself. And so you have to realize that. But a lot of the ones I do have that are passive now became passive from the non-performing note space that I converted to a passive income. So, it all works together. And that's what's the beauty of it. That's kind of the aha that, I don't have to work each and every day. If I wanted to take off, now I can just sit back. I do have income coming in to cover my needs, pay my house payment, pay the car and feed the dog, that kind of thing. So.
And have a little bit of fun along the way too, right?
There you go.
So let's go back. That's a great thing. So you basically put, 320 between 2 accounts? Is that correct?
Yeah, roughly.
And so you were using those accounts just to buy, bring cash flow in, or if you had to foreclose, sell the asset, reinvest that money into assets. And now it's grown to where it's got a value of 1.2. Is that correct?
Correct.
Well, that's what I know. It's over a 4-year period?
Yeah, 4-year period. Yeah. So that's all. Those are just ones in an IRA,
right?
Or 401k, a solo 401k. That had nothing to do with my non-performing note business, the note authority. That's just a separate little thing. I just wanted to test it out, but it just shows you the power of even just doing that. Which you're not making. In the non-performing space, you can make 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 70%, I've 100%. But in the non-performing, in the performing space, obviously, it's between somewhere in 10 and 20%, right?
Right.
So, but again, it compounds. That's the key, compound. What does Einstein say? Something about the most powerful thing?
Yeah, most powerful tool in the world is compound interest. That's the truth that Einstein did say. So you've done a great job. You having your self-directed IRA accounts or your solo 401ks, it's important to have and get things rock and roll. And yes, you had a great chunk of change in there, but a lot of people can start those things with minimal amounts and start, using options or a small amount to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you don't have to have that much money. I just happened to do that. I just, when I quit my job, some of the money came from there. I had some money in a different account. But yeah, you could start with, you think about it, you can get an option on a property. You could do a wholesale property. You could do a wholesale note. You could do a lot of different things. So, don't wait because time, I actually opened that account in 2007. Sorry to say, it sat for almost 5 years doing nothing. And if you look at the numbers in terms of the amount of money that sits in those, I think you mentioned this too, 20-30% sits as cash. So don't say there's no money out there, folks. There's tons of money out there. And I was one of those people. The money is just sitting there doing nothing. I was busy. I was working, right? Working, JOB. So the money's out there. And if you can find it, if you have a good deal, then you can definitely find the money.
So what would you say your biggest aha moment looking back now? If you could go back to Randy Rodenhouse, new note investor, and share that one thing with them to help them along their way, what would you go back and tell yourself?
I would say outsource more. I'm a real person that has to do it himself, wear all the hats. And I say, don't do that. Don't do what I did. I mean, you don't want to go crazy because you do want to learn the business yourself, but there's certain things you do want to outsource right away. And don't get stingy on doing things like due diligence. I have a couple of examples. Maybe you do too, Scott, where I bought a note, didn't do the O&E or the title report. And I missed a few things, a couple big ones on taxes, for example, early on. And they were, they hurt, right? They were, maybe $7,000, $8,000 issues of taxes I had to pay off, and there's no way around it. So, again, that was my first few notes, did it wrong, but definitely do your due diligence and take it to heart.
When you talk about outsourcing, is there any specific sites that you use or anything that you're using that you'd like to share with everybody on helping you outsource stuff?
I outsource the kind of typical things you talk about, everything from, insurance, for example. My insurance is such that I can literally go on, click a button, put insurance on, take it off, similar to you. I would say outsourcing things like, the collateral, outsourcing things like the REO servicing has been kind of a hard thing for me to find the right people to do it's like I have 2 rehabs going right now in Ohio. And, the one's a minor rehab, one's kind of a major one, truthfully. And finding the people to do that is very tough. And so you want to build those relationships early.
You wouldn't recommend doing a lot of remote rehabs right off the bat.
You don't want to be jumping in a plane and driving to every house. That's one thing I have to say. I see, people that do that, and that's fine. Everybody's different. I really haven't visited any of the houses I bought or any of the notes I purchased.
But you always put eyes on those assets before you buy them.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I always have somebody drive by. Maybe use somebody like Sandcastle who drives by, or I found them to be pretty good, actually. That's one person that I've had a lot of different people, probably 3 or 4. They've been one where I've been pretty happy with so far in terms of bar outreach, or I want to send a letter to somebody, they'll knock on the door, stick a letter on their door or knock on the door and get them on the phone. So, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but you definitely want to outsource as much as you can.
Right. Definitely a big thing. And what's Sandcastle? Is it Sandcastle.com?
Sandcastle Field Servicing.
Sandcastle Field Servicing. That's a great
a lot of the field servicers basically shut you off unless you have, unless you're buying, 500 assets or something crazy, and most of us don't do that. So.
Yeah, they're willing to work with a smaller amount for sure, just because they realize, hey, somebody's got to start off somewhere to get to the big numbers, right?
Right. Exactly.
Cool. And so you mentioned something early on that you wanted to buy stuff that you turn into passive cash flow for the most part. You didn't want to do a lot of workout. So has that helped you identify? Is there anything specifically in your due diligence that you do to try to help identify those assets that fall into your kind of wheelhouse?
Yeah. So when I do my due diligence, I'm looking at a few things. One, obviously, the loan to value, right? You want to buy it at a certain value range. I usually don't go much over, sometimes, 65 cents in the dollar, typically. So it's usually 50 to 65, depending on the asset, depending on the quality, depending on the area, that kind of thing. I also look at, usually I want the P&I, principal and interest, the payment to be high, high enough to support the payment that I'm going to make on the house. So if it's a asset I'm purchasing at $50,000, the payment better not be $400 a month, because it's just not going to work for me. Also, I want to see rents that are in the same, ballpark, minus the tax and insurance. So, if I have to rent it for some reason, I get it back and I can't sell it, I have to rent it, then I can still make a decent return of 20% plus. Mm-hmm. So those are the big things I look at. I like a high unpaid principal balance, just because typically you can, even if you forgive some of that debt, you can still make it work and have a good cash flow.
Right.
So those are the kind of things I'm looking for. And usually, occupied, even though the last couple I bought, I wasn't sure if it was occupied or vacant, and ended up to be vacant. So those are the ones I'm working on now in Ohio.
Right. Right. Definitely. It's you can say occupied and still sometimes it just isn't occupied. Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. You'll see occupied on the BPO, then you drive by and it says, I'm not sure. The realtor say, I'm not sure if that's occupied or not. So you just never know. You can check the power. There's a lot of things you can do. I've had houses where the power was off. I thought, and they were gone. I was pretty much sure. And I bought the asset, and the people moved back in the house once they found out that they could stay. They were worried that someone was going to lock their furniture in the house and they couldn't get it out, so all kinds of crazy thoughts people have.
Right. Now, when it's an occupied asset and you're buying the note, is there anything do you do a lot of the borrower outreach yourselves when you're talking to the borrowers to get them to modify or reinstate, or do you outsource a lot of that now?
We outsource a lot of that, but I think usually we start off with some type of outreach letter. It's just, hey, here's your options, right? An options letter. Here's your options to, if you want to stay in the house or if you don't want to stay in the house. And I give them maybe 4 options for each. And that works pretty good. It usually works better if you actually have someone go to the house and paste it on their door or knock on their door and hand it to them. That's even better. So we definitely do that ourselves. We don't usually do a lot of calling. We try to, leave that up to the servicers to do that thing. You gotta be compliant and make sure everything's good to go there. Recently we had a lady that we thought, it didn't show any bankruptcies, but she did have an attorney. She had, what do you call it? What do you call that?
Retained counsel?
Yeah, retained counsel. So basically, then we ended up talking to her attorney and, actually work things out. So, but you have to be a little careful. You're not supposed to do certain things. So we do some outreach in terms of letters, but we don't do a lot of banging the phones until they get friendly with us. And then, then we make sure that they're happy with us. We try to outreach, kind of little things. Like I had an older lady, she's 82 and she gets very confused. So I try to help her through everything, how to call. I've actually conference called the servicer together. That's a little much sometimes, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do to get her going. And now I think I got her going. And they wouldn't send her statements. This particular servicer wouldn't send her statements because she was in bankruptcy 7 years ago, which to me is totally ridiculous. But that's their rules. And that rule is going to change, by the way, in the end of this year. The CFPB is generating a rule that says that they have to send payment statements out even if they're in bankruptcy. So that's a little nugget that I read recently. Hopefully that website is
accurate.
Good one. Accurate. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the thing is, if somebody's living in a property and they're paying the taxes, they're living in it, usually they want to stay. Nobody wants to move. Nobody enjoys uprooting their family, packing everything in boxes and moving.
Right. Exactly.
And if they're working, hey, usually they have some ethics to them, work ethic and stuff like that. They want to stay. So sometimes just a general conversation. We've experienced a lot of that lately with letters going into the assets we got. And the servicers sent out letters afterwards saying, oh, you've got to do this specifically thing, even though we'd already agreed to a lot of stuff with the bars. And we're like, why are you doing that, stupid servicer? Don't do that. Right. We've already agreed to this with the bars. You work for us. We don't work for you.
That's what happens a lot of times. You feel like you're working for the servicer. Like, what? I have to tell you this and that. And then I have to tell the foreclosure attorney this. And I also have to tell the servicer. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is nuts. But anyway, you gotta play by the rules, unfortunately. And sometimes some servicers are a pain, but there's no perfect servicer either. So it doesn't matter who you use.
And I think it's the biggest thing. You work with what you got. And then I think that's why special servicers come in handy. Yep. So when you really fill in the gaps, they're a lot more friendly and a little bit more flexible and much more active on how fast they reach out to bars. Would you agree with that, Randy?
Yeah, they really understand our business more than a typical just a servicer that just collects payments typically for a performing note. So yeah, definitely getting those people in your camp, it would help.
Right. So so if you're looking at a pool of assets, is there a specific bread and butter asset that you like? Price range, value. You mentioned you like to have it where it's the UPB is more than what the property's worth. You'd prefer to have occupied. You want specific mortgage payments to be in a specific range, along with rents being higher in case you got a turn rental. But is there like a bread and butter, like an asset you get a tape in, and if you see a specific asset on a tape or in an area, you just get excited?
I love all notes, so I'm not partial. I don't love all notes. So, so I would say, again, in terms of area, Midwest, Southeast. So I don't really do a whole lot in the Northeast, but I would, again, I've done Virginia, West Virginia. I've been in probably about 26 states now. So, but those are my main ones, the Midwest, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, and then the Southeast, because I live in the Southeast, but that really, I just like the South. Texas, of course, I love Texas, but it's, notes are, not too many there, but there's some.
There's some. It's just usually priced a little heavier.
Yeah, they're always priced higher because, for a good reason, right? So, yeah, and then also, again, like I'm looking for high UPB, looking for something I can get reperforming. Occupied is usually a must, unless I can get a really good deal on it, right? So if I can buy it at, 45, 50 cents on the dollar, then, I'm willing to take a vacant note. What else am I looking for?
You like stuff in South Carolina, your home state?
I've bought probably the least there. It's hard to find ones, a lot of them, put it that way. I probably bought 5, 10 here. But I do like them when I find them, just because, I don't know, for some reason you feel good and, warm and fuzzy that you can drive to it, even though I never do. I had one in Spartanburg recently, kept saying, I'll drive up there. Like, why should I drive 3 hours just to make myself feel good about something and just waste a day of time? I got other things to do. So, but yeah, I like Florida, I like Georgia. I got one in Alabama recently. Got them reperforming, so that was a good one. Even though there's a red redemption state. But
let's talk about that really fast, because some people ask about that. Alabama has how long of a redemption state? Well, first of all, let's talk about and define redemption period.
Redemption is that the homeowner, after the foreclosure auction, can get the house back if they pay, of course, everything that was past due. They have to pay all their attorney fees, all your costs, everything associated with that property. And in Alabama, they just passed a law in, when was it? January of last year, January of 2016, that it used to be 365, 1 year. Now it's 180 days if it's a homestead.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
that's a little better.
1 year though if it's non-homestead?
Then if it's non-homestead, then it's 2 years. Well, it's 2 years if you don't, it's kind of confusing. So if you don't do a proper notice, then it will be 2 years. If you do a proper notice, it's 180 days. The 1 year thing, I think, is just gone now.
Okay.
But again, I'm not an attorney, I don't.
You're not giving legal advice.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
that makes a big difference, because that was one of the biggest things. Like, I don't mind buying contract for deeds in Alabama, because that's more of an eviction than it is a foreclosure. Right. But a true non-performing note, a year redemption period. I know Minnesota's a year as well. And so that's why I was like, I don't want to have to worry about it. Now, you can't go and fix up the property properly either, though, in that year, because if they do redeem it, you only get credit for maintenance of the property, not a full rehab.
Actually, you can there's certain things you can fix. In certain states I was reading about where you can actually fix it up, and they have to pay for that too if you have the proper receipts or everything. Again, I don't know which state that I was reading about. You read about so many things, it's hard to keep them all straight. I usually write them down in a little notebook, but I think in Alabama, that's the case as well. So, you don't want to go crazy because you just never know. Usually, 6 months. I mean, right now it's taking me in Ohio. I've waited almost 2 months just to get my deed so I can sell the property. I have it all rehabbed and ready. I still don't have the deed. So, at any rate, you just have to make sure you take the time, be a little resourceful, go out on the internet. Everything's there, most everything, in terms of laws, right? So redemption rights, go to NOLO, redemption laws. They have a very good site and they're pretty accurate. So, read about it. But each state's a little different and you have to keep up with it. So right before you buy that asset, check it out. What's the situation in that state?
Now, how scary was it for you at first to be investing outside of your home market? Because, a lot of people, when they're first getting into notes, are like, I want something in my home state. I live in Minnesota, I want something in Minnesota. Or I live in Alabama, I want something in Alabama. You live in South Carolina, was it stressful? How did you kind of overcome that fear? Are you just a riverboat gambler that we need to know?
I'm pretty aggressive in terms of risk, but overall, I mean, the first time I had bought probably 30, 40 properties in my state as rentals. or, sold them or kept them. But after a while, I started doing this. I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be able to see it. I can't touch it, feel it, go inside. How do you know what the inside's like, right? It could be just destroyed. But that's why you're buying it at a discount, right? And it's a numbers game. You can't just buy one. Yeah, you could get, bad luck your way. They buy one and it's crappy. But if you buy 10, 20, 100, whatever, more, 300, eventually it'll work out. So you don't buy just one. You don't have to buy 10. When you're buying seconds, you definitely need to buy 10. When you're buying first, buy one or two, see how it works out. But again, if you do your due diligence and the value is there, I can truly say I've never lost any money on any of these notes. I mean, there's some I maybe made $5,000 or something like that, or a couple grand. Sometimes I had this one in Georgia that was disaster. They took out 9. What's the biggest container? I don't know how many yards, but anyway, the biggest one they have, 9 of those. It was a little teeny house, and it had mold and it was everything. I sold it to a fix and flip guy, and I was very happy. I think I ended up actually I owner finance part of it even for him. I wanted to sell it that bad. I think I gave him back a note for, I don't know what it was, but bottom line, you got to get creative in this business. And, I made my money back plus. So even on a situation like that.
Yeah, that's I've had some horror stories too, where you don't, how the hell did people walk through the house if you're pulling that much crap out of there, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. So, but again, that's the minority. The majority of the notes, you're going to be good to go. You're going to be good to go.
And that's true. It's a numbers game. And then what advice would you give people out there that don't have a lot of private capital or their own funding access their own funding as far as raising capital? Would you recommend they get out and start marketing today or
Absolutely. That's one thing that I'm starting to do now finally. And actually still looking at a private placement. I'm talking to a couple of attorneys right now, but bottom line is you don't need to do that. You can go out, talk it up. I mean, you can talk to your neighbor. I went out with my neighbor across the street. He's a doctor, makes a lot of money, right? So I went out and took him to a dinner with him and his wife, and didn't really talk about notes, didn't talk about my business, but things come up, in conversation. And I know the guy's got money. So, you just tell him what you do, and eventually, the money will come around. And you definitely want to talk it up, market. The social media things that Scott teaches are wonderful. Take one of those classes he has. I mean, you're going to learn a ton, and learn how to do it right. Do it, instead of learning everything yourself, it'd take 100 years.
Network with other investors. I think it's one of the best things about the note investing community. It's a much warmer marketplace than other kind of niches.
Right. Yeah, and JV. There's times when I've JV'd with other note investors like myself, and vice versa. So we're all doing the same thing, but we're even sometimes JVing with each other. So, really getting out and talking and telling people what you do, and get out there on social media and do it.
You wrote a book a year or two ago, didn't you? Too. That was a marketing aspect for you too, right?
Yeah, actually, I got it right here. Can you see it?
Oh, really? Okay, there we go. Nice.
Yeah, so I actually just redid it.
Okay.
Why did I redo it? The name just wasn't catchy. I mean, even though this one's IRA 401k income builder. It's basically about all the different government-sponsored savings plans, how you invest in real estate, notes, private lending, all this good stuff in your IRA or a solo 401k or whatever type of vehicle you're using. And it gives all the rules and regulations and all that good stuff. So I redid it because, first of all, things change in that world. So I had to update a bunch of things. And then the book title, I wanted to make it a little more basic. The other title was a little too, I don't think people understood it. It was Stock Market Crash Diet, about consuming less stocks and more real estate. But I think people had to think too hard to figure that one out.
Too complex a title for most people.
Yeah, so it made it simple. But yeah, it's a Amazon, quick read. It's 100 pages roughly. So check it out.
What's the name again? IRA and 401k what?
Income Builder.
Income builder. Okay.
If you go to Amazon, it's the only Randall Rodenhouse on Amazon. Only book under books, of course.
Right. Nicole will post that in the Facebook links on here. We'll make sure that's on the blog with a link to it as well for everybody.
Sounds good.
There you go. Driving a little business your way for you, best we can.
There you go. Appreciate it.
So do you go to a lot of events too? Because I know we met originally, I think it was Noteworthy a couple of years ago. How often do you go to a conference or an expo?
I try to go once a year. I mean, for a while I was going to multiple ones a year. Truthfully, this past year I haven't gone to as many, but I think it's I definitely want to do one more this year and then plan on something next year. But I think it's important. If you're just sitting in your house, first of all, you go crazy, right? You're looking at notes all day. You need to interact and meet other people and get ideas. I don't care how smart you think you are. You will always gain ideas from other people. If you've been in the business for 1 year or 10 years or 20 years, you're going to learn from other people. Plus you network, you get pumped up, and definitely get out there. What's your next event, Scott, you're going to?
Actually headed to the Distressed Mortgage Expo this weekend.
That's right. That's coming up. Yep.
It's in Orange County. There's about 300 people going to be at it. So excited. It's be a pretty good group. I think I was looking at the guest list. Mark Gold and Mahir Allen, who put on the Distressed Mortgage Expo in New Jersey in January, have this one in the California side. So looking forward to that. Then we've got Note Camp convention that we do virtually, taking place in right at a month now as of today. We had 700 people last time on that's a virtual one. Obviously you've been a part of that a couple times.
Right. So. Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I think I'll go out to California more. I was tendency to say, oh, it's too far, but now my daughter lives in LA. So perfect.
If you need a ticket, let me know, brother, because it's a Saturday, Sunday. I don't know if you can make it out there. You're lucky the hurricane didn't hit your hometown, so you probably got airports that are still working out.
Yeah, everything's working here, so
that's good. That's good. We have any questions from anybody out there? No? Okay. All right. Awesome. So one thing I wanted to ask you is you're tweaking some of the marketing. You redid the book on that stuff. You're working more on marketing. What's your kind of your big focus the next 6 to 12 months?
Next 6 to 12 months, I'm really focusing on building this business. I really don't want to. I can name the website right now, but unfortunately, it's half done, so people see a half done website. So, really, what I'm looking at is starting kind of an educational process for people that want to improve or increase their passive income. So, someone that is a business professional, a person that is a doctor, a lawyer, or a business owner. It doesn't matter what you do, really. And you have some passive income. You don't have any passive income and you want to build your passive income. That's what it's going to be all about. So that's one thing I'm really working on in the next 6 months. It's really to attract individuals that want to learn, not only learn, but actually deploy money to do it, right? I'm not looking to teach everyone every little thing about notes or private lending or everything. It's just to give them an overview of what's available, what are the opportunities out there. And then I'll have guests on like yourself, Scott, that are people that are in that and that teach that particular field and, really get it to the next level. But I think a lot of people just don't even realize that what's available to them and that they can, get awesome returns, secured by real estate, and have it come in each and every month without having to worry, right? And, a lot of people try to put money in the stock market, which is fine. But again, that's not guaranteed. I guess nothing's guaranteed, but there's nothing secured. It's not secured, put it that way. So you definitely, that's what I'll be working on. And then also just building my own business. I mean, again, I just told you on the passive side, I'm looking to, get it to $40,000, $50,000 a month. On my side where I'm buying notes and taking them back, or the house is back, of course, that continues each and every month. And looking for new private hedge funds, maybe some servicers that'll work with me in terms of selling notes. Community banks, actually reached out to one here in South Carolina, where the guy had actually a lot of notes for sale that are still in distress, but they're mostly commercial and a little bit bigger price tag than I could handle. But again, if you don't talk it up, you're not going to know, right? You got to get out there. And most people think, oh, bank's not going to sell it to me. But I was actually surprised. And I was talking to the CEO of the bank. So I actually was surprised that I got on the horn with him. So you got You got to do what Scott says. You got to, get out there, put yourself out there, take the risk, and talk to people. And there are banks that will sell notes, even, a few at a time, right?
So let me ask you, you're doing a lot of stuff for that passive stuff. Is that because that was such a passion thing for you when you were working? You were looking to do things differently than being in the legal drug dealing aspect of things?
Yeah, I think what it was, when I was working, it was 24/7. I got up, went to work, came home, still couldn't forget about it. I mean, we were producing chemical factory that made, high performance colorants and different rubber chemicals and all these different wonderful chemicals. But the people working there, when you're working with chemicals, it's not like baking a cake. Everybody had to make sure their safety. I had 100 employees. Each and every day I had to worry about their safety. I got to the point where, it's pretty stressful because it never ends, because the plant never shut down. It was 24/7, 365, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, didn't matter. It ran. So I wanted something where I'm getting income in as soon as I leave you, Scott, I'm going to meet my friend for lunch. I'm still making money. And if I do the math on it, how much money am I making an hour? It's going to be a lot more than I was even making my other job. So that's what I wanted. And I would never quit and just have the passive income coming in, because that's just not me. And it's just not you either, Scott.
Right.
So it's just in our nature to continue to learn and get into new businesses or just build our business. So yeah, that's really why I did it, because I wanted to have all my things paid for in terms of my house payment, car payments on automatic, right? I mean, you think about it, you could buy a car by buying a note. You buy a note and the income off the note could pay for the car for 5 years. And then you have income stream for the next 20 years from the note. How beautiful is that? And those are the kind of things I like to teach people, just to get them aware of what's out there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the beautiful thing is a lot of people look at that number of what their salary is or their monthly income is, and it looks like an elephant to them, right? Like I've never done anything. I just look, start off and get one deal done, get something coming in. It may be $250, it may be $500 a month, but that's $500 a month.
Exactly.
It just comes in forever.
That wasn't there before.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's a nice car. Think about it. Or whatever it does, you really should keep the money, in my opinion, and reinvest it. But if you like to buy a car, buy it. I mean, if that's your reward, do it. Do what you like. I mean, everybody's different, but
right.
One asset could produce that car payment, right? So,
and you do some fun. You've traveled quite a bit too over the last couple of years. See, where's your favorite place to travel to?
We went to Italy recently. I do love Italy. That is an awesome place. It's just the food's great and the people are great. So we're gonna go probably back, because it's hard to see everything. We went there for 10 days. It's hard to see everything in 10 days. So probably go back there. But there's so many great places. Even in the United States, I think half the people just don't even. I was lucky as a child. My father took us a lot of great places. We went skiing every year. We did everything. So I was pretty lucky in that sense. But there's a lot of great places to see, even in the U.S., right? But yeah, skiing, just went out to Tahoe skiing too.
Nice. I see the picture behind you there, Aspen or something like that.
That was my favorite place right there, Aspen. We used to ski out there every year. My dad would pile us in the car from Michigan and we'd drive for 2 days. Oh, dreadful. But once we got there, we'd ski for 5 or 6, pile back in the car and drive back home. But we did that every year. My dad would take us out of school 9 years in a row. He did that. So.
Yeah, that's nice. That's phenomenal. And that's the beautiful thing about notes. If you work it, you put the time in, it can be it's not a get rich quick overnight. We can agree to that. Okay.
No, absolutely not.
It's a wealth building avenue that if you work it and do it on a consistent basis, it's a numbers game. All right. You have wins, you have some losses, you have some home runs, but I think the biggest idea is people have to realize it's like a base hit. Every deal is a base hit. Boom, base hit, sometimes double, sometimes triple, sometimes a home run.
Yep.
As long as you keep it in base hits and stuff like that, hey, it adds up really, really deadly quick.
It does. There's some re-performers that I did this one bankruptcy one recently. It was definitely a home run. The person, I did a modification with them. I think the payment's like $1,400 a month. $50,000 for that note. $1,400 a month. Yeah. That's PI.
Wow.
That's not even tax insurance. So yeah, it was great. Now, are those going to happen all the time? No. Then I have other ones but I'm, maybe making $400 a month, but still, I may be paid $20,000 for the note. Hey, it's still fantastic, right?
Right.
So these returns are phenomenal, and you could sell the note again. There's so many ways to get your money back. You sell the partial. Let's say you need money suddenly for a vacation or your kid's college education, sell 60 payments, get that back. There's so many different avenues, and that's the beauty of this business.
Right. And you're using your self-directed funds as well to help you identify.
Yeah, all my IRA is in a Roth. So all that money I was talking about before, half of it's in a solo. So half is in a Roth though. And that Roth is all tax free. So if I build it to 10 million, it's all tax free when I pull it out. There's nothing better than that. I'll tell you one last story. I don't know, how much time we got, but real quick. In 2008, 2009, when the market was coming down, I sold 3 properties that I had because I was a little nervous because I had a lot of rentals. And then I had some properties that I was just like, let me sell these properties. So I made $323,000 in those properties. I had them for a while. So, a lot of it was appreciation. So I had that money. And then about 6 months later, someone stole $100,000 away from me. And I was like, that person I never met, the person never helped me out in those houses. That person was Uncle Sam. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I wrote that book, because you know what? I wasn't gonna let that happen to me again. And so that's the big reason why I think it's important not to put all your stuff in an IRA. It's just like when you're working, you put 10%, right? Do I put all my stuff in an IRA? My business, I don't run through my IRA, no. So you buy one asset in there, maybe 10% of your income. Let's say you make $100,000, you put $10,000 worth of notes in there or whatever it may be. So you have something when you retire, and that's important because most people aren't going to have a lot of retirement if they don't start working on it now. So it's a good thing. When you put out tax free, you feel even better.
Right. Uncle Sam got in your pocket. That was a good little analogy.
Yeah.
To make 300 and walk with 200. Thank you, Uncle Sam.
Yeah, exactly. He walked away with 100. Man, that's a deal. I'd like to be Uncle Sam.
That's right. Amen to that. Definitely. Oh, that's so good. What would you say, looking back, what were 3 things that you would recommend to somebody brand new doing? 3 things. I'm going to re-emphasize the one on doing your due diligence, the title search. Do it. And if you have to do it multiple times, do it multiple times. Typically you don't. And it's so inexpensive, for $90 or whatever, just do it. Always check out the property, do either a drive-by or BPO. A lot of times I'll do a drive-by and not have a BPO if I have a really good indication of value. I'm very good at getting values, so I feel pretty good about that typically, but I will do a drive-by on the property. The other thing, not yourself, but you'll have realtors or somebody else go do that. Exactly. And do things like, when you talked about putting on, LinkedIn or, some of those sites, Bigger Pockets or whatever. There's people out there that will help you out, right? You got to help them too, right? You got this give and take in this business, and people in this business overall, I think, are very generous and kind. I think the real estate business is that's one thing great. People aren't like just me, like a lot of businesses. What else? Starting off, I would get a mentor and a person to help you out, because you can learn a lot of this. Well, some of the stuff you're never going to learn online. You can research it all you want. You're probably going to find Scott to learn from, because he's got a lot of stuff, a lot of good training. But if you really want to get the real training where you're talking face-to-face with the coach and mentor, take some kind of training. And of course, I'm going to recommend Scott's. But bottom line is, I think you got to get educated. I don't care if it's a business. You can't take a little bit. Closed notes class is what you're saying here. Is strength, education. Get out and network. Get out and talk to people. Whether it's your local RIA club meetings or the local investors out there. Whether it's a workshop or whatever like that. It is important to get that stuff, because you can go from 0 to 60 in 6 days versus 6 months. Right. Right. Yeah, you need to. There's so many moving parts in this business. There's no way you're going to know it all.
there's you got to work with attorneys, you're working with title companies, you're working with insurance companies. There's so many different things. So I would definitely recommend that. And then the thing that I probably should have done earlier is to do a little more, networking and social media, or trying to get funds, right? Looking for funds and networking with people, trying to raise private capital essentially. And I think that's something that I should have done earlier. I had some capital and I relied on that too much, but you know what? Doesn't matter how much money, the money's going to be gone. It doesn't last. If you have $1 million or 10 million, you can spend it all, right? So definitely network with people to find JV partners, talk it up, tell them what you do. You can do it in a way that's very subtle. And then people will be asking, well, like I'll say, well, yeah, I'm working with this guy. He's getting 8% of his money. Well, how can I get 8%? Right? That's the kind of questions you'll get if you do it in a way that's, not too in their face. But
and it's just talking with people and asking questions. I mean,
absolutely.
Let's talk about your guy across the street. You went to dinner and just building rapport, having fun with your friends, and the conversation probably came up about what you do a little bit. And how did that kind of transition for you?
Yeah, I mean, well, another example with is another neighbor. Actually, he's moving in the same neighborhood. He's a doctor. He's my wife's doctor for. He's a what kind of doctor is that? For her lungs. What is that? I don't know. I think he's an allergist. Yeah, he's an allergist. But anyway, talking to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and my wife's talking to him about what I do, and now he's all interested in talking to me, right? So, look, even other people that you tell that might not be the direct person to you might find the person that might become your JV investor. So it's just a matter of, again, talking it up, telling people what you do in a way that makes them interested, not just, hey, this is how great I am, I'm doing these things, right? Just tell them a little bit about, hey, I'm in real estate. These are some of the assets I purchased recently, and I love it. Get excited. If you're excited, they'll get excited.
I think that's the biggest thing. If you talk down and nobody wants to deal with it, but if you share what's going on, you're excited about what you do. It's infectious.
Exactly.
People like being around positive people. If you're negative, Nancy, nobody's going to invest with you. Nobody wants to be around you.
No, exactly.
They're going to run for the hills screaming for the most part. So what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, Randy?
They could email me at randy@thenoteauthority.com, or they can, my phone number is 843-754-8174. Those are the best two ways to reach out until I get that website finished up. That's the best way to do it.
Right. And once again, everybody, his book is IRA and 401k Income Builder. All right. Income Builder. So check it out on Amazon. As he said, he's the only Randy Rodenhouse.
I think in the United States, but
that's a good thing. I got four Scott Carsons in my own database.
Yeah. There's some famous Scott Carsons besides the famous note Scott Carson. Right?
There's a soccer player most of the time.
Yeah, that's it. I knew it was some kind of athlete. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, hey, repeat your, it's Randy at the Note Authority.
Yeah, Randy at the Note, NOTE authority.com.
Right. And check them out there, guys. Got a great website on that. How many notes have you closed in total? You have any idea to keep track of that, Randy? You're a couple hundred, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm pushing 200 now. I'm not quite to 200, but really close now. It's like 188 or something like that. So I'm just a little pickier now. I have to say, this past couple months, there's probably about 6 or 7 assets that I turned down right at the last minute because the collateral wasn't right. So, I guess I could have taken a chance. They were good notes. It's hard to decide sometimes. It's hard because you're like, I love this note. I want this note. I think it's going to be great. But what if something happens and I can't foreclose because the due diligence isn't correct? I had that situation recently. Sometimes you take a chance. Sometimes you don't. Most of the time I don't take a chance anymore just because I don't really have to. And
right.
I wouldn't recommend anybody starting off to do that either.
No.
Probably, I could probably take more of a chance now, but I still don't really have to because I don't really, it's not like I'm going to die if I don't get that note. So
there's no reason to do a bad deal. I think that's one of the great things out there.
Exactly.
there's plenty of it. And I'm sure the seller, they couldn't provide the clear collateral. They couldn't get the things. You're walking away. You're not burning a bridge or anything like that. It's just because that's the name of the game.
Yeah, they understood. I said, if you can get that to me, if you can find it, hey, I'll still buy it. And I have had ones recently where the seller said, yes, you can buy this note, confirmed the note price, and came back and said, no, we sold it to someone else. You were the second highest bid. I said, well, what? And literally I have the email. It says, you're confirmed, gives me the number, gives me the street address, everything. Those kind of things really upset me. I won't ever name names, but that stuff makes me very upset, and I will never buy a note from that person.
Is this a company out in California?
Is this a what?
Is it a company out in California?
No.
Tell you what, text me that name, whoever it is, so I know, because I'm a big advocate of, look, if somebody's going to tell you that you got the note,
yeah.
That's not cool.
And then I didn't hear anything. It was like maybe 24 hours, maybe 12, I don't know, 24 hours, not even. So I just emailed back, hey, what's up?
Where's my contract?
Next? What's send me a contract. Then I get an email. Oh, you were actually the second highest bidder. Sorry. Okay. The email was so formal that it got me too. It was just like boom, boom, boom. And congratulations. And
congratulations. We're not going to sell you a note.
Yeah, exactly. So that I was actually surprised. We'll talk about it, but yeah. So, again, I'm sure it happens, but you don't want to do business continuously with someone like that.
Amen to that. If somebody is going to pull the rug out from under you like that after they've sent it over, it looks like Donovan made a comment on here that my face changed on the screen. Yeah, because there's a couple companies that are doing that to investors out there, and it's not good business ethics. They will not be in business long because they're burning the bridges. Who wouldn't want to sell a note to somebody who's closed on 200 deals, right? They know you're solid,
Yeah, exactly.
Now they've lost your business from them. If it's a different company, hopefully it's not the same company. But if it is, I'm the same way. That company, I will never buy a note from them.
Because it takes time. The biggest thing, how much due diligence and time. I spend a lot of time on my notes doing due diligence. So my time is valuable to me and should be valuable to someone else.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll talk about it offline there and go from there. So, Randy, thank you so much for joining us I know your day's pretty busy with going stuff and living the life that you want to, the life of a note investor. Once again, guys, check out his book on Amazon. Great little book there. I've already read it before when it was under the original title. Loved it. Good stuff on that. Look forward to seeing you sometime soon, my friend, okay?
Yeah, we definitely got to meet up, and we'll be talking soon.
And make sure you pencil in, like we talked about, the 1st of December. We'll see you down here in Austin, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Sounds good, Randy. Thanks so much.
You bet.
All right,
Thank
everybody,
you.
That's going to wrap it up for the episode today. Like I said, check us out on iTunes. We've got some new episodes that are being uploaded there on a daily basis for you. As always, would love it if you leave a review if you really enjoy what you do. Also, if you have a topic or something you'd like to see us cover, feel free to email me at scott@weclosenotes.com and just say podcast title and give me a rundown of what you'd like us to discuss, because there's a variety of different topics out there, and we'd love to hear any hot buttons that you'd love for us to cover. As always, we appreciate your feedback. If you'd like to get more information on note investing, you always text the word notes, N-O-T-E-S, to the phone number 72000. That's notes to 72,000, and you'll get over 80 hours of video sent to you for some education for you. So otherwise, guys, thanks for joining me on this episode of the Note Closer Show. We look forward to seeing you all at the top. Bye, everybody. All right, we're not live streaming anymore.